Thank you very much. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session of EXP 302, Modernize Your Online Learning Experience. My name is Kwan, and I'm a Senior Solutions Architect from the Worldwide Public Sector team here in Amazon Web Services Malaysia. And we have...
My name is Henry, and I'm also a Worldwide Public Sector Solutions Architect from AWS Indonesia.
Thanks, Henry. So today, we're going to share with you a bit of a project that we have been spending 9 months or so, right, to develop a modern online learning solution that hopefully will be able to modernize some of the learning experience for your customers or even yourself, your organization. So before that, perhaps I'm going to go through some of the agenda that I'm going to cover today. I'm going to start with a bit of going through some trends within the new education world before going through some of the, what we call services in AWS that really maps to the education space. And then I'm going to pass over to Henry here to really go through deep diving into the different reference architecture of the solution that we have built for the past 9 months, right? And then we're going to end up with the sharing of the resources, right, that we have published in the internet. All right, so let's start with a bit of a reflection here. Now, we have been talking to a lot of customers from the education space, and we kind of like constantly hear a common messaging from the CIOs and the CDOs we have spoken with, where they have actually experienced a kind of like an accelerated adoption of their digital transformation journey for the past 2 years, right? I mean, in a way, they kind of felt that, hey, what they thought would need to take 5 to 10 years to realize in their digital transformation journey, some rather experience tremendous acceleration. And they can really see some results in mere months. And even some of the CEOs or CIOs and CDOs that we've spoken with have shared, hey, you know, the only good thing that came out from COVID is change, right? And this is a change that they were glad they were able to adopt and adapt. Now, fast forward to 2 years, 2022, right? We've seen countries, you know, Singapore, Malaysia, and even Indonesia going into endemic phase. Well, would they slow down their digital transformation initiatives? Again, we have spoken with the same folks around, and they said, nope, we're going to keep the momentum going because we've seen a lot of benefits of that, and we've seen those benefits in the cloud, and we're going to continue that space all over again. Now, as we speak about emerging trends, right? Well, as I shared earlier, COVID has brought tremendous change to the education industry. Well, it really resulted in an estimate of 1.2 billion children globally unable to attend schools physically, right? Which is why you see, you know, a lot of education institutions starts to lean over to digital platforms, right? So that they're able to ensure students' learning experience are not severely disrupted. Which is why you see for the past 2 years, a sharp rise of the adoption of online learning through digital platforms, right? In which students are able to continue learning through virtual classrooms remotely, right? While they are still being, housed in their house, right? So to speak. But again, fast forward to 2022, right? Countries are going endemic phases, granted. But when we speak to organizations, they say, hey, online learning is here to stay, to a certain aspect. Why? We wouldn't know what's going to happen if a new variant emerges, right? So, like my daughter in Malaysia, she still gets assignments, like assignments being given to her through online learning portal, right? She still has to go through and submit that online. So the next thing about it is, the next trend that we see is the emergence of new innovative learning paths, right? Through introductions of innovative learning solutions like online learning, micro degrees, if you heard of it, right? Micro badging, or online assessments. Remote online assessments are something that emerges and kind of be a kind of trend in the industry coming along. Okay, so with that in place, right, we see students or learners have a choice, have an option where they can really map how do they want to learn throughout their learning aspiration. They do not need to really embark on the traditional learning path. They have to go through all the learning degree kind of path, and they go into the new way order in terms of modern and innovative learning. Now, shifting gears to converse about financial kind of stuff. We see education institutions and even edtech startups are being pressured with financial constraints, right? In which they have no choice but to really seek for innovative and cost-effective solutions. Which is why, again, for the past 2 years, we see education customers and even startups are exploring to migrate their applications to the cloud. Why? By migrating their applications to the cloud, they are able to really enjoy the benefits of the cloud by providing them a highly scalable, available, and secure infrastructure. But more importantly, at a cost-effective pricing. Okay, so how would online learning be able to provide students a flexible learning experience? Right, in essence, we have, well, when you call about online learning, or even learning, the new learning experience, right, we have two learning modes, synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. Now, synchronous learning is basically it's where students are able to have direct engagement, right, with teachers or lecturers, where they're able to get fast responses, right? This is normally through physical classes as well as virtual classes, right? That's synchronous learning. So in this case, these are more structured classes, which is highly effective. Now, on the other hand, you have asynchronous learning. What is asynchronous learning? So asynchronous learning provides students the ability to pace themselves on how do they want to be able to learn. For example, now with asynchronous learning, you have online learning contents published to the cloud, right? Where students are able to access those contents at their leisure, at their pace. Right? So again, students are able to pace their learning accordingly. Hey, which one is better? Why choose one when you can have best of both? So students right now have a choice. Whichever learning mechanism that suits them best. If, for example, certain classes that I felt I might be better suited to attend those classes physically or virtually, right? That's going to be synchronous learning. However, certain scenarios, certain activities where I need to do more revision, right? I might not need to attend the classes live because my time does not allow me to do so. I can switch off to asynchronous learning, where I can view back the recording of the classes, download those learning materials, those assignments and whatnot, right? So those are synchronous and asynchronous learning. And another reflection of things. Hey, what about students' lab? Gone are the days where you need to access labs physically, right? During my time, whenever I need to do assignment, I need to go to the lab, right, and get I only have a limited amount to do my assignments, right? Now, through innovations powered by digital platform, we are able to allow students to access their lab environment, the 3D Max, the programming, the AutoCAD, and the MATLAB at their time of their choice, anytime, anywhere. Right? So this is something that is powered through an innovation that can be powered by cloud, by the way, right? And remote assessment is some of the upcoming trend that we observe on this part of the world, where education institutions are experimenting. How are they able to offer remote assessment or remote exam or online exam to the students, right? But they should be proctored or supervised by an artificial intelligence service that are able to detect cheating attempts. Make sense? So, again, modern learning or modern learning experience should provide students the kind of flexibility that they want. Granted, hey Kwan, I have spoken with a lot of customers. These are the common feedback. Kwan, I hear you. I am also into digital innovation, digital transformation. I bought a lot of software, right? Which is rather unfortunate because this customer will ask me, Kwan, this is my problem. Again, quoting some of the services that they have. In my classroom, right, I use Teams or Zoom. My online, what do you call it? I use Google Drive to store my learning materials, right? But the problem is, I need to manage different user passwords or user credentials. It's very tough. I cannot memorize everything, right? And on top of that, all these different platforms does not synchronize all the information like student attendance, the video recordings of the classroom lectures and whatnot. Those are being scattered everywhere, right? I need to go to different systems just to get the things, just to access those learning contents, right? And the fact that all of those information is not integrated, I, as a lecturer, my lecturers or my teachers has to manually get them into it. It's kind of a pain, right? So is there a system that you're able to seamlessly integrate all these things together so that the classroom recordings, the assignments, the study notes, all is stored in a central repository? That's one. Now, secondly, hey Kwan, how am I able, right, to access all the learning content securely, especially for teachers and lecturers? Because why? These are kind of like IP for them, right? So how am I able to really protect my kind of IP so that they are not illegally distributed to someone from the other institutions, right? So again, intellectual property and data protection and privacy is something of essence as well, right? And the third thing which is very important here is, Juan, online classroom, online learning, right? Can scale. Why? Suddenly I have like, okay, in my experience, I have a customer which has 120,000 students that needs to take exams simultaneously, or even go through their online classroom simultaneously. Am I able to scale to meet that demand, right? Do I need to worry about bandwidth, whether the user side, the student side, as well as the institution side? So these are infrastructure challenges that our customers have shared with us, right? And last but not least, we talk about it again, remote assessment. Seems like this is the kind of trend that you see, right, Henry? So we see, like Malaysia and maybe Singapore, we see a lot of international students, right? And this is the kind of dilemma that a lot of private education systems are facing. We have a lot of students from China and Europe. They're not able to come back. At least majority of them are not able to come back. So how am I able, as an institution, enables them to continue learning, right? And continue learning is not just doing online classes, right? It's about providing the platform to complete their study, which includes online assessment, right? So again, that trend comes back to the conversation all over again. Now, we switch gears a bit to really share with you what are some of the services that AWS has. We have 200 over services in AWS, and we kind of picked a couple of services that really resonate well in the education space. For example, Workspace is a cloud desktop. It's a fully managed desktop as a service that enables you, as a customer, to access those environment, your PC, anytime, anywhere. So imagine if you have a PC or a desktop that has MATLAB installed, AutoCAD installed. Hey, your student can actually access those remote lab anytime, anywhere, right? Now, similarly for AppStream, so different technology. AppStream is an application streaming technology, right? That enables you to stream those applications, again, MATLAB, 3D Max, AutoCAD, and whatnot. So, Workspace, AppStreams are great candidate for remote lab kind of use cases. Now, switching gears to be in WorkDocs. WorkDocs is an online document collaboration tool that enables lecturers or students or even between students to collaborate with a document, providing feedback on how to improvise those documents. Those comes in form of WorkDocs, my bad. Okay? Chime. Chime is a remote collaboration or communication tool that enables us to create or to launch virtual classrooms, right? So that you're able to have students and teachers running through what they call synchronous classrooms, synchronous learning, so to speak. Okay, and of course, we have Elemental, which Andrew's going to share. Now, remember we talk about asynchronous learning, right? Where you have your students' ability to able to really stream those recording of video classes. Elemental provide what we call intelligent or adaptive streaming, where your students don't really worry about bandwidth. If they have good bandwidth, the video will stream at full HD. High bit rates. If circumstances they goes into an area where bandwidth is insufficient or limited, the bit rate will get throttled down to maybe 720p or whatnot, so that the video or the students' learning experience will not be disrupted. Okay? And of course, these services are not enough. We also aspire an integration with, my bad, I always want to click the laser, right? Other solutions like smart proctoring, student analytics, and even campus management to complete a fully integrated learning management system. Hey, this is the million-dollar question here. How do we build an integrated system? Because we've seen the customer's challenges, which is why we, the team, the bigger team of the Education SA in ASEAN, took that challenge to build one for our customers, okay? And what we see, our vision of the integrated online or modern online system is the following. Now, as an online learning management system, we cannot run away from having a learning management system or LMS, right? LMS is the core, it's the nexus of the entire learning solution, right? So we picked Moodle, but more importantly, this core itself has to reside on a highly scalable available and secure infrastructure. Why? If this goes down, I don't care what you have, this goes down as well, right? So this has to be there, and we're going to have that, in which Henry will share later, to be deployed into a modern serverless container infrastructure we call Fargate. Okay, and Henry's going to deep dive into the infrastructure into the conversation later. Now, but having a core itself is not enough, right? Moodle does have its own capabilities, but we wanted to expand Moodle's capability into the different pillars of the solution. So we talk about, hey, how are we able to build an integrated live classroom or virtual classroom experience? Now, in our project, we selected Big Blue Button. However, we see Moodle being able to be extended to the major online collaboration tool, whether it's Teams, Zoom, right, even Google Meet, and even Chime through our Chime SDK. But in our project, we actually chose, of course, open source, right? A Big Blue Button, which is also a leading open source video conferencing tool. And the good thing about it is Big Blue Button is seamlessly integrated into Moodle. What does it mean? This means you can launch your virtual classroom session from Moodle itself. Opens up a Big Blue Button session, everything goes from, and everything saves back to Moodle, even the recording and the student attendance. Now, the next thing about it is, hey, what about on-demand learning? What if your lecturers, your teachers upload those video recordings, those classroom recordings, those learning contents to the cloud, right? If it is video, it is automatically transcoded. Remember, we talked about the adaptive bitrate? Transcoded for you, and it generates a link, okay? Lecturers can take that link and publish it to Moodle, right? And you know what? That video gets streamed to a CloudFront endpoint. So regardless where your students are, they can be in Singapore, they can be in China, Europe, and even Middle East. Those contents we cached so that the streaming of the videos will be streamed through the nearest point of presence. Okay, they don't need to travel all the way to Singapore. Now, the third thing is remote lab. Remember, we talked about AppStream. So we have a direct integration with AppStream that enables you to launch remote labs, remote application, right? Streams down, again, directly from Moodle. So your students can access Moodle, say, hey, I want to do this lab. I launch the lab in Moodle, it just gets launched accordingly, right? And all the lab sessions also get saved into Moodle directly. And last but not least, before I pass over to Henry, right, is the online assessment with virtual proctoring. Now, Moodle itself has an online assessment module, granted, but what it lacks is an online proctoring. How do you know he is who he is when he takes the exam, right? So we are able to have, Moodle itself has a plugin, and that plugin actually integrates with Amazon Rekognition to really recognize who's the person. Okay? So, I'm going to pass over the floor to Henry so he can share with you the technical architecture deep dive.
Thank you, Kwan. Very exciting. So Kwan has made great points about AWS services breadth and depth that you can use to build a modern online learning experience, right? So in the following sections, I'm going to cover a little bit more technical details of these individual integration use cases. So to start up, we will need a good foundations for our modern online learning, right? Which is a secure and scalable learning management system. So let's take a look first at some of the deployment options that you can use when you want to deploy Moodle into AWS. The first options is the simplest one, and most customers starts with these options, which is running Moodle on a single instance deployment. You can use Amazon EC2 or you can use Amazon Lightsail, but as you can see, this does not fit really well with our well-architected best practice, as it is a single point of failure and it is also not scalable. So we normally don't recommend customers to go with this route. So in order to alleviate the pain points that we see, we recommend, for example, go into second architecture. So in the second architectures, we have a scalable Moodle. And how do we make it scalable? We break down Moodle components into a modular architectures. For example, we host Moodle database on Amazon RDS, Moodle data file system on Amazon EFS, caching on Amazon Elastic Cache for Redis, and then we can load balance a pool of Amazon EC2 instances so that we can run Moodle application service in a scalable way. So this provides good scalability, and you can optionally put in high availability by using multiple availability zones. But still, in these architectures, you still have these components where you need to self-manage and secure, right? Which is the Amazon EC2, for that architectures to be effective. So the question is, what if we could actually run Moodle applications full stack in a fully managed AWS services? So to answer that, we can actually run Moodle application service using containers. So for containers, we have Amazon Elastic Container Service and AWS Fargate. Like Juan mentions, it's our serverless compute offerings for containers. So by running Moodle on AWS Fargate, you can actually remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting of managing and securing the Amazon EC2 instance. We will do it for you, so you reduce your security responsibility. You can spend that time somewhere else where it's more important to, for example, improve the student experience, or maybe you can work on the other digital transformations initiatives right within your organizations. The other benefits that you can get is that AWS Fargate handles scaling really, really well. Per our latest benchmark, you can actually launch 500 tasks of Fargate within 1 minute per service. So it's really, really impressive. So you can actually handle the spiky traffic that you have in your LMS, right? Better compared to traditional virtual machines, because containers actually, the startup time is really, really fast, right? And then you can also optimize the cost of your Moodle application service by using Fargate spot pricing model, which is really simple to use. So now we go take a look at the reference architectures for these third options. So in the following slides, I'm going to use some kind of animations, right, so that we have better understanding on how the deployment works. So first off, we have an AWS account, and then we also choose the regions that we want to deploy to. And then for this deployment to work, we can actually use the samples provided in AWS Samples GitHub repository that we have created. So these samples will be created using AWS CDK or Cloud Development Kit. So Cloud Development Kit allows you to build your infrastructures on AWS using your favorite programming language, for example, TypeScript, Java, .NET, Go, or Python. Then actually this Cloud Development Kit is a higher level abstractions on top of AWS CloudFormations. So when you deploy the CDK templates that we have provided to you, it actually transpile into CloudFormations, and CloudFormation will manage the deployment from there. So it will start by deploying a well-architected VPC using 2 availability zones. So we will create 2 public subnets, 2 private subnets, and then when the VPC has been created, we will deploy the initial data dependencies for Moodle. So we will create Amazon RDS in multi-AZ configurations, Amazon EFS for Moodle data file system, and then we will use AWS Secrets Manager to store the secrets to connect to the database so that application will use it right later when they initialize. So once the initial data dependency has been created, we will deploy the Moodle application service on Amazon ECS and AWS Fargate on auto-scaling configurations. So when the first container launch, right, due to the design of the software in the Moodle, it will perform the one-time installations. So this one-time installation will actually populate the database, will populate the file system for Moodle data, and then it will run for about 15 minutes. And then once this has been completed, right, our application is ready to use, but we can configure the performance, right? We can improve the performance by configuring the caching using Amazon Elastic Cache for Redis. So now we have a load balance Moodle application service. We have Amazon RDS, the database in multi-AZ configurations, and we can scale it by adding read replicas if we need it. But then we can also improve the performance by using Amazon CloudFront, our content delivery network. And we can also attach AWS Web Application Firewall to secure our applications. So AWS WAF can prevent web application layer attack, for example, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and it is also integrated with our IP reputations list so that it can block certain bad IPs that we know from accessing your applications. So now with this kind of architectures, you have the whole full stack Moodle applications running on fully managed AWS services, and the scalability is better. Your database can also scale really well with read replicas, which Moodle supports with read-write splitting. So many AWS customers have gained benefits by running scalable Moodle on AWS, and one of them, which is mentioned by Kwan, is Malaysia's DPCCE, which is Department of Polytechnic and Community College in Education in Malaysia. So DPCCE has this CDOS LMS, right, which they are using to serve for about 116K of students, 7K of lecturers across 36 polytechnic in Malaysia. So by 2020, they got a mandate from federal government to go 100% online to serve all of these users. So of course, their on-premise computing capacity is not able to handle such traffic. They got a lot of downtime due to the insufficient capacity, insufficient storage. So AWS helps them to actually migrate their CDOS LMS to the cloud using these scalable architectures. So by migrating to AWS, they reduce the downtime that they have from about 3% every month down to 0. And then they also reduce the cost within that year for about 30%. So they also maintain the security compliance, the data privacy regulations provided by the federal government as well. So let's move on the other integrations beyond these foundations, right, which is the live classroom experience. So as Kwan mentioned, we've seen popular demands on video conference tool to support the synchronous learning, which is, for example, Zoom, which is very simple to use. However, these tools are not really integrated into the online learning experience, causing students and teachers to use multiple tools, sharing passwords publicly. So schools are looking for solutions that are actually integrated within the LMS, have more learning features, and can also be deployed using an open source solutions so that they can use it to save costs. So AWS provides Amazon Chime SDK, as Kwan mentioned, which you can use to build a highly flexible front end for video conference with a fully managed WebRTC backend. Besides that, AWS also supports third-party solutions like BigBlueButton and Jitsi that can be seamlessly integrated into Moodle. So let's take a look at the reference architectures on how you can build a scalable BigBlueButton on AWS and integrate it into Moodle. So this is the reference architectures. So as you can see from the diagrams that there are two high-level components. The first one on the top left is the Moodle LMS, and then the second one is the scalable BigBlueButton on AWS. So for a scalable BigBlueButton to work, you can actually deploy BigBlueButton on a scale-out Amazon EC2 instance, where each EC2 instance will actually serve for about 150 concurrent users within parallel sessions, and you can scale to serve more users by adding more EC2 instances. So to scale those traffic between multiple instances, we can use a specific load balancing implementations for BigBlueButton called Scalelite. So Scalelite also is an open source solution that you can deploy on top of Amazon EC2, and Scalelite is compatible with BigBlueButton API. So how do we integrate this scale out BBB into Moodle? The answer is you can just use the standard BigBlueButton plugin in Moodle, install it, and then connect it to the Scalelite endpoints. So when you have configured the plugins, lecturers can actually create the course and include the live classroom activities right inside the Moodle. So what happens then, students can actually enter the course, enter the class, and enter the live classroom right away from Moodle LMS without having to log in into another tools. So they will be redirected automatically into BigBlueButton sessions with their student's name, student's profile, integrated right away inside the Moodle. And additionally, they have more features. For example, teachers or lecturers can actually share the whiteboards for students, just like what we do in the classroom, right? For more interactive learning sessions. They can also see learning analytics, for example, whether the students are actually watching the lecturers, right? And also the recordings for the live classroom. When the students wanted to watch the recordings, they can right away just go inside the Moodle and can watch the recording from there. So it really helps to build these seamless integrations. So what I want to talk about next is the on-demand learning. So AWS provides a suite of media services to support the on-demand learning. And one of them is AWS Elemental Media Convert. So essentially, Media Convert allows you to transcode the video that your lecturers can have created to support adaptive bitrate streaming. So adaptive bitrate streaming allows students with maybe lower bandwidth or older device to still watch the video with a quality playback without any buffer, without any lag. So Media Convert, you can also use it to build a really simple workflow that you can integrate right away within the Moodle LMS so that students can also enjoy the on-demand learning, the quality playback right away inside the LMS. Let's take a look. So this is the reference architectures for the integrations of the video on-demand solutions from AWS into Moodle. So the same architectures as before, we have two high-level components. The first one is the VOD solutions on the top, and then we have Moodle LMS on the bottom. So the VOD solutions that you see on the top is actually a ready-to-deploy solutions that you can use and deploy within a few clicks, within a few minutes. And the whole entire workflow is serverless, meaning that you don't actually need to provision server, and the charges are actually pay per use. So if you don't use the workflow, there will be no charges to your account. If you store something, then it will only charge the storage that you are using. So the workflow starts with Amazon S3 bucket as the storage that your lecturers can use to upload raw video. For example, the video is in 1080p. So once uploaded, AWS Lambda will kick in and then will actually prepare a job. So this job information will contain information like what's your preferred bitrate configurations, 360p, maybe 480p, 720p, and then it will be processed by Media Convert in the backend. And then once the job is completed, there will be two parts for this. The first one is the AWS Lambda will process the completed job and send the notifications to your lecturers via email, via SMS, via simple notification service from AWS. And they will get an email and SMS containing the information of the video, right? This information that they can use to actually create a course with the link to the video that has been already optimized right away inside the Moodle. So when the students enter the courses, they can watch the video right away in the Moodle, but in the background, these videos will be served by our CloudFront CDN, which will improve the user experience because these videos are going to be streamed from their nearest points of presence locations from our CDN. So the next integrations that I want to talk about is implementing remote computer lab using Amazon AppStream 2.0. So as Kwan has shared, Amazon AppStream 2.0 is a desktop and application streaming service that schools can use to actually remove the need of implementing a dedicated room for computer lab, right? Learning computer lab software can be now done anytime and anywhere. And administrators can also easily update it by just packaging a single image and deploy it across a pool of Amazon AppStream instances. It also supports auto-scaling. So you can actually schedule the scaling when the lab started, and then you can scale back in when the lab has been finished. So you can optimize the cost, and you don't need to think about hardware refresh. For example, computer lab software sometimes have added new computing requirements, GPU, CPU, and you have to refresh the entire hardware, which is very, very expensive. So you can just change the specifications on the fly on AWS. So this can also be integrated right away in the Moodle without having to use two tools at the same time. Let's take a look. So same as the previous reference architectures, we have two components, the Moodle LMS and Amazon AppStream. So the key how to integrate these two experiences is the learning Tools Interoperability, or LTI. So LTI is a standard that learning tools can implement to actually integrate third-party systems into the learning tools that implement the LTI standard. Moodle supports LTI, therefore we can actually create an LTI-compatible REST endpoint using AWS API Gateway and AWS Lambda. So by implementing LTI standards, AWS Lambda can actually receive information from the Moodle, such as student's name, right, student's ID, so that the AWS Lambda can use it to call the AppStream API and get dedicated streaming URL specific for that student. So when integrated, right, Moodle will actually see that LTI integration as an activity. For example, virtual lab activity that lecturers can use to implement in their courses. And then when students access the lab, they can actually just be redirected into the virtual lab sessions without having to log in again. So finally, I'm going to share the last use case, which is virtual proctoring. So this is quite simple. Like virtual proctoring essentially use computer vision and audio analysis to prevent cheatings. So verifying test taker ID, switching places, multiple test takers. So how can we integrate the AWS services used for this virtual proctoring use cases into Moodle? So AWS provides Amazon Recognitions, which is a pre-trained computer vision that you can use by just calling the APIs. You can submit the images that you want to compare, and then you will get the results on the similarities. So in Moodle, there's like a very popular plugin that you can use really easily to just integrate the Amazon Recognition API into your Moodle LMS. So by just installing this plugin and configuring the authorization key for the Amazon Recognitions, you can get some basic virtual proctoring software ready to be used. But of course, it has limited features, but if you want more advanced use cases, our partners are also building a dedicated, advanced real-time virtual proctoring software that you can implement, and it is powered by Amazon Recognition API in the backend. Now, I will hand it over to Kwan to summarize the key takeaways and provide you with the resource that you can use to get started. Okay. Over to you, Kwan.
Thanks, bro. Hi, I'm back. So, probably going to summarize this with a few key takeaways. The first one is, well, you need to run the core, and the core has to run on a highly scalable and available and secure infrastructure, which is why we choose Moodle to run on AWS, serverless, Fargate on ECS, right? Because that's going to provide the best amount of capabilities in terms of scalability and availability. Now, the next thing is, you're not going to have Moodle alone, right? You need to have extended capabilities, right? In which case, Henry we have shared with you, the live classroom, on demand, or video on demand, or on-demand learning, remote labs, remote proctoring, and whatnot. Now, we don't just say it, we have actually customers experience, like what Danny just used to say. We have the best algorithm. What do we had?
I'm sorry.
Oh, never mind, we'll just forget.
Yeah.
So we have proven customers, stories that we have done before, like DPCCE, UNPAS, which, as well as AMA within the Philippines, right? So that being said, again, we have built these solutions. We have actually provided some of the resources available in the internet, especially like Henry. Let me go to Henry have actually published a blog article which has all the different capabilities, the Moodle on ECS Fargate, published in the blog, which you can actually scan it through. If it is not enough, Henry also have run through a AWS sample where he has the entire thing published in GitHub. Right? If you intend to deploy it into your environment to experiment, more than happy for you to access this and deploy it in your own environment. Now the next thing is about, hey, what about Big Blue Button? How am I able to integrate it? So we have a blog article that shares with you, that we can share with you on how are you able to build a scalable Big Blue Button, or BBB in short, right, into your environment. And of course, it's the same thing, you remember the VOD thing that Henry have shared? We actually have a sample solution that's ready-made. You can just deploy, it's a one-click deployment that can deploy into environment. And again, a blog article on how are you able to integrate Amazon AppStream. And of course, the link to the Moodle proctoring plugin. But wait, Juan, Where's the demo? What time already? So what we felt is the entire solution is quite a big thing for us to show into this kind of short class or session, right? We actually have the entire Moodle demo, solution demo, live, available in the Ask the Expert booth. So if you're interested to have a look and experience what we are talking live in person, we will strongly recommend you to visit the Ask the Expert booth. Look for the guy called Viral, the bald guy, right? And also Sikarin. They will be able to share with you more on that demo as well. And with that, again, we have some slides where you are able, we strongly encourage you to engage with our training and certification team for you to polish your skills in cloud. And with that, we conclude our session. We hope that our session sharing provides some form of learnings and benefits to the folks here. And we hope to see you soon. Thank you for your time and see you again. Bye.
Thank you so much.